policy,
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff was repetitive. At least
Yes.
for me. Like
Oh, I'm so happy that you're saying this because what I did was watching the video of Michael
Yeah,
Sagan, and I saw there was a lot of well repetition, especially with regard to the one of the first texts that we read,
yeah,
the
exactly.
foundation
Yeah,
of crypto-economic system, and you know the whole talk about the techno sphere as well as the social governance sphere. So I thought there was a lot of repetitive stuff, right?
yeah,
Absolutely. Um,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm a little bit the
Hi,
same as
Supernova.
Wojtek, even though I was like, hi Supernova, by the way. Good morning.
I,
I was the same as Wojtek. I could cheat on like two things in here: the algorithms as policy, because I had watched it before, right? And there is an article written by Zarkim and Kelsey Nabin. I've read it before, but honestly, I should like take the notes. I haven't done that so far, so this is missing. And then, yeah, like I failed the rest. I'm so sorry.
No worries, because I'm still behind on the previous part. So from the general, or what's it called? Yeah, general
Yeah.
topics. Yeah, I read like a third or something, so I still have a lot of catch up to do.
Don't worry. I think it continues to be like that. Also, I don't know how you guys feel, but there are articles that speak to me instantly where I'm like, I'm reading the first two sentences and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to know. So for example, when I read this very dense report, the first one, which is called Code Dependent, Pros and Cons of the Algorithm Age, that wasn't an article, right? Just to be sure everyone knows, this is actually a report, so it's quite dense in information. But I made a note to myself essentially saying like, okay, this is an article or a report that can be used to make, if you're trying to argue about certain things with someone, you know, you can use this as like fodder to underline the argument you were trying to make, I think. So I thought it was helpful in that sense, right? Was it helpful in like what it really contained? No, like everyone knows that algorithms are all, or at least I would assume that us here, we know algorithms are all around us. They are influencing people's everyday life now, right? But yeah, I feel like, you know, because it was a report, they tried to balance it, like, you know, the good and the bad kind of thing. But it was not like really like, I didn't want to say it wasn't helpful. It's the wrong wording, but it didn't tell me anything that I didn't already know about algorithms, or even like you could take this almost 101 and put this on artificial intelligence, and you would find yourself in a very similar structure, I feel. I don't know, what was did you guys get a chance to read the first one?
no, sorry.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, on the bright side, I really like the structure. Like, if you did not want to spend so much time with it, I mean, there's the time estimate is 60 minutes, but it is structured so well so that you can just skim it and you understand what's there, right? And then you can go deep, and you can there were those quotes and summaries of interviews and stuff like that. You don't need to read that if you don't want to go deep. Then yeah, you absolutely don't need to do that.
I see we have a very similar approach to reading sometimes. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but what would you say are the main points, the lessons learned from this report?
What?
Sorry. What are the lessons learned from this report for you personally? What are the main points that might be of interest for all of us?
This is why I am this person taking notes on this kind of stuff. So this is my summary, right? It's like, yeah, algorithms are all around us. They influence our daily lives. They are not free from bias, which is a huge challenge and a struggle, right? They are built into most daily tools we use. They summarize the downsides and the upsides of algorithms in daily life, and they give like specific examples on where these things show. So, for example, you know, Facebook struggles, Amazon is an example that they put in there. Or was that in the other? I think that's in the other. But anyhow, they put like really good examples in there. And they make the point that even well-intended algorithms fail and bring harm to people, right? And we need to be very aware of developing a world that is maybe only based on, you know, algorithms and algorithmy. I think this is how they call it, because we could run in very unintended results coming from that. And yeah, and I think the article keeps trying to bring this, because it's not an article, so they're trying to stay away from opinion, rather give like an overview, right, of what these things do for you. So they're saying positive impact should have on banks, on healthcare providers and governments. But truth to be told, right now we don't really see that, right? Because also governments and banks, as they are private businesses, and healthcare providers in the US are private businesses, so they all work on bias, right? And that makes actually algorithms kind of dangerous. But so do people. So, you know, they are not giving you like this one conclusive answer where you're like, oh yeah, sure, algorithms are all good or they're all bad, because the answer is neither, right? But they give you a lot of, like I said, like fodder, right? On if you're trying to write something up, or if you're trying to investigate more like how algorithms, or how your specifically designed algorithm might impact people, right? There's a lot of learning in that, and a lot of good references to put into maybe your writing at some point. Yeah, but that was my takeaway from this. I thought this one was good.
Yeah, it was.
Guys, did you have the chance
I think it was.
Oh wait, Grayscale first, and then Lutra, and then Supernova. I think that's the order. Let's try.
Okay. I think it was like this was like, you know, pretty general. I mean, it was just an overall. Like you said, it wasn't trying to make any type of decision, but really just trying to.
Sorry, Stella, reporting a what?
Wait, Lutra, can you
Hello?
not hear Grayscale?
No, sorry.
Oh, that's what's
happening.
happening.
I'm sorry.
No, this is not on you. This is on Lutra. Lutra, can you get out of Discord, close Discord, and come in back again? Then you might be able... Sometimes Discord is super buggy about this shit. I'm sorry.
Yeah, all right.
I should not have said shit. Okay.
Yeah. No, my comment was pretty...
Oh, maybe it was Grayscale.
I think it was Grayscale.
Grayscale, yeah.
My connection's fine.
I could have heard him.
Strata Trader and Supernova, you're super quiet, by the way. Maybe you need to up your volume. Everyone just leaves now. Oh man. Also,
I think there have been like the same problem last session. So yeah.
Is this better? Sorry. Is that better?
No, it's not better. You're super quiet.
I'll sign off and come back.
Yeah. I had actually some problems before starting the session. I think Discord did a new update release, and something is very off. Like I was trying to put emojis on your comment, Wojtek, right? Also, thanks for the comment. Thank you for your comment, Supernova. And it was just like it restarted Discord. Like every time I tried to put an emoji, so I shut everything down, restarted, updated again, and then it worked.
There's also some technical issues in the recording, especially the mic. I hear a lot of echo. My voice.
Yeah, this is my problem. I'm trying to fix it this weekend, but this is my problem because I don't have headphones right now, so I'm using this. See, this gets worse, right? So I just put it like as far away the speaker as I could to make it
so
like
that
less.
is why I hear my voice. Yeah.
Yeah. This is why you hear yourself so much. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm trying to fix
But
it
that's
this weekend.
because it's not an issue for me. I cannot hear myself.
But I still think it's my problem. Because it's not good to have like a microphone and a speaker, right? It would be better to have a microphone and have earphones. That would be better, I think. But yeah, I didn't buy the right connector. Okay, blame me. I didn't buy the right connector. How did I know? How little did I know that these, like, you know, these thingies, they come in 2 different sizes. They are not all the fucking same. I didn't know that. So now I have to deal with it this weekend. Yeah. Anyhow, is everyone back? Where's Strada? Strada went all out. He's like,
It's time to fix his connection. Maybe.
He's like, I'm gonna buy a new mic. No. Okay. Grayscale, want to finish your comment?
Well, my comment was was pretty much summing up to what you just said. That this article was, fairly general, like a starting point.
Yeah.
For doing further investigation. So I really wasn't trying to give you any answers or anything, but it had a little bit of everything in it. So.
Okay, understood. Anyone? Lutra. I know Supernova first, then Lutra. Was it? I don't know.
Well, okay, so I didn't get the chance to read the first the algorithms as policy, but I did the autonomy part. So my takeaway is that the autonomy system is divided into 2 parts, which are functional and political. And so in the political, we find that we have individual people and collective. And in the functional, we find that there's tactical and strategic. So I think that there's some problems here in terms of decision making, and I believe that in part of decision making we find that there is no evolutionary thinking about in the decision making.
Yeah.
So. I didn't finish my reading, so that's what I got from here.
Okay, that's fine, I guess. Which of the 2 articles did teach you think the most? The one on Wikipedia or the Medium article?
The Medium article. I think it's more structured, and I found, like always, I don't read Wikipedia. I find like Medium, there's people there that give structured informations, and more of that, they are like they explain it in a human way, like it's very easy and simple than from Wikipedia. So yeah,
I got you. Okay, that's interesting. Thank you. Lutra, you want to add? I think you wanted to add to the algorithm thing, right? Or to this one?
The algorithm thing? Yeah, well, I mean, I don't see really news in that one, yeah? Because if you have understood the foundations of crypto economic systems, I think the only part of it that was new to me has been the talk about different kinds of measurements, and that it's not always objective, that there is a lot of subjectivity in the way you choose your key performance indicators and things like that. So that was for me the new part that I found quite interesting.
Okay. Fair enough. Strada, welcome back.
Is it any better now?
Oh my God, no, you're super quiet. Like, what's happening
quiet.
to your mic? Like, can you guys
You can
hear?
add.
Huh?
You can add volume, so you can hear him better.
Oh, can others hear me okay, or is it just?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I push you all the way to 200 for me now because I like you're super quiet compared to everyone
here.
else.
Okay. I'll stay quiet then.
Okay. Any comments? Did you do some of the reading? Did you get to it?
I did, yeah. I did all of it.
You did it all?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us everything.
Well,
So sneaky.
what would you like to? So I hope everybody can hear me okay, because I don't want to repeat myself. So I'm only going to do this once. So it was a really good article. I liked it. I liked it a lot, and I think what it did for me is that as I reflected, the thing that came to mind, we need to rethink algorithms as policymaking tools in our digital society. You know, as things are evolving in our digital landscape and algorithms are increasingly shaping our lives, they're deciding, in terms of what we see on social media towards determining our credit scores, right? You know, as we become more reliant on these algorithms, I think that it's crucial that we, examine their design and the consequences of their governance on society. I love the article, actually. Now that I reflect back, I read it I read the stuff yesterday evening, and what came to mind was that this rise of algorithm. I think it's the rise of algorithms as governance, and we need to start understanding that, or shaping others' views on how they look at it, because right now they've looked at it from a myopic view of how commercially driven institutions have used algorithms to further their agenda, to do what? To create more consistency in their revenue stream. And these organizations, and I'm not here judging them. Look, the world needs commerce, right? I'm not here to judge that, but I think that these algorithms as governance tools, are really powerful, because these are the rules that dictate our interactions within various platforms, and can yield tremendous power over our decisions, behaviors, and overall our lives. I think we've seen that in many just things that have come up in the news lately, right? So I think that the article reminds me to place tremendous responsibility on the folks who are building these algorithms, as well as the same level of scrutiny should be on policymakers, right? Not to close off and shun these. So, did somebody want to say something, or do you want me to just continue? I have a couple more points to say.
No, feel free.
Is this good so far? Is this what others want to hear? I don't know. I'm just sharing.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So I see that there are some pitfalls of algorithmic policies, right? The things that come to mind, there are a few issues that are exposed. There's the one called the subjectivity, where algorithms are, designed by humans, making them inherently subjective, right? I think decisions made by designers are influenced by their personal beliefs, values, and experiences, which can lead to biased outcomes. So that's number one. I see one of the highlighting risks within algorithms as policy. The second is lack of accountability. I think many algorithms are opaque in their design and function, which makes it difficult to determine their goals and assess their fairness. It's another complex system. As a result, there's often, I don't know about others, but I've noticed that there's little accountability for the consequences of these algorithmic policies that are being codified. And the third point that I would just say in terms of the pitfalls of algorithms as policy is, proprietary technology platforms. They often, the thing is, when you put these in the hands of proprietary commercial interests, I think over public goods, we lead to a bit of I don't want to use the word. I hope the word doesn't sound very off, but it leads to a perversion of the social institutions they mediate, right? So it's almost as though you're supposed to put people first, but they've put these commercial entities forward and their incentives. But anyways, here's what I'd say. Lastly, I'd say from my perspective, it's about reframing our perspective on algorithms. I think we, just because these are pitfalls, does it mean that we put our heads in the sand and say, oh my God, we have to shun this away? No, we need to embrace this. We need to accept this. We need to become one with this technology. Because why? Because that's the only way that we're going to create the safeguards and guardrails around it to ensure that it doesn't get out of control. That's what it's about. And so the other thing I would just leave on is, for me, it's about reframing my perspective on algorithms and sharing the same with others. I would say my headspace is already it's not. I'm an adopter. So the thing that I would say that the biggest challenge we're going to have around reframing others' perspectives is to overcome these challenges and create more equitable digital society. I think it's essential to recontextualize algorithms as modern policymaking tools. And that's what I got out of this. This shift in perspective will enable us to better understand and address the subjective assumptions embedded within algorithms to enhance accountability for real world consequences and impact. That's all I'd say.
Oh, that's super valid. I think maybe I can add one more thing, or a detail really, to what you said. So one part is the bias, right? But something I always thought, like, yeah, I'm biased, right? Every person is biased in one way or another because we have an opinion. An opinion makes us automatically biased. We are not neutral towards a lot of things, right?
Human beings, right? We're human beings. We're human beings.
Yeah.
So we're naturally biased because we're all brought up from different parents, different parts of the world. So there are, I think we need, what you're saying just reminded me of something. I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to say those biases are ever present. That's why diversity of thought is so important. So, sorry, I just wanted to emphasize what you said was very important. To me.
Thank you. I agree. It's very important. Also, the awareness to all of us is very important. But one thing I have never really given too much thought of is the fact that data is biased, right? Because it's old. It's not new. And if we're training language models, right, we use old data. That's how we do it. We scrape, websites, and we use it to educate an AI, right, for example. But all of that contains old data, and it's not being, because it would be, a lot of work and a lot of money, obviously, to try and give these things a neutral tone. But then also, do you want that, right? If you look at the AIs that are currently being trained, I just had yesterday a very long discussion with someone who works in my project as well about gun control. I know it's a very heated topic, especially right now, right? And both of us are obviously opinionated about it, right? And so it not every discussion goes as well as the one that I had yesterday. Usually people get very angry at some point, or they leave a conversation, or all of this, right? But all of this would eventually then translate into an algorithm. And who is an algorithm to say people like, you should have guns or you shouldn't have guns, right? It's like it starts this whole discussion about fundamental sets of values. And this is where we run into a huge problem, because not all system or not all values of people are in alignment. So I sometimes wonder, is there anything that we as engineers can do to train our, for example, language models or AIs, doesn't matter, on like neutral data, right? Is there something we could develop to neutralize and take out opinion and make it about information? I remember when I was in high school, in my last 2 years, I had a very good teacher. She taught us how to, it was just the time of 9/11, right? That had just passed. I graduated in 2004. So my last 2 years of school were like, they contained a lot about that, to be honest, even though we lived in Germany, right? And there were a lot of obviously opinionated news articles, right? People had an opinion to share. And she taught us how to read between the lines. because sometimes opinion is not super obvious, especially in news articles, but it is there. And she taught us how to read beyond the opinion, right? And also how to know which is actually the opinion of the person who is writing that. And I thought it was very valuable. So it made me recently think, after reading these algorithm as policy articles, is there a way we could potentially do the same that my teacher did for me at the time, right? For our algorithms, if that makes any sense.
It does. I think we can. I think we can. And I think, you know, where it starts in democratizing the data, right? So decentralizing the data collection, kind of like what Ocean, what McConaughey was doing, what they're doing with Ocean and some of those other large data curation models, right? By not giving the validity of data to a commercial enterprise to possibly skew, they now give it to the public and say, hey, you know what? Here's the data. Do you think it's accurate or not? And put the hands of validity of data. It's kind of like, I call it raw data, right? And when you're looking at AI models, like, or just any data warehouses or data marts, I just call it the raw data. It's to get to that raw data, but how do you get to that? By either giving to a select hands of a few, or giving it to the world for them to curate. That's what I think, my 2 cents. But I agree. I like the thought process.
Yeah,
Sorry, Grayscale, go ahead.
No, I'm curious if you think similar. I feel over the last 20 years, the world has become more extreme. Like there is less, let's look at this view and let's look at this view. It's more like you either hate something or you love something. It feels like all the middle gray tones, they are like bit by bit, they are getting deleted. Either you're on this camp or you're on that camp. There's like almost no space anymore for people who are like, yeah, maybe let's think about it in that context and it makes sense. And if you think in that context, the other thing might make sense, right? This kind of like middle ground evaluation, I feel it's becoming less and less and less and less. But maybe that's also just my personal perception. Wow.
Well, it's God, there's so much to unpack here. The thing is, like you brought up one thing that you were taught in high school. So, my personal feeling is that it starts with education. You have to educate people to learn how to do, critical thinking, so you don't get this, skewed, very extreme type of way of mindsets, which of course will at some point get into these algorithms and things like that. It kind of fits in perfectly with our Medium article, which had a lot of things in there. And as token engineers, it really, there's a thread that it says something in the effect that we, like our first job is really to, to have a code of ethics as engineers to make sure that we do things on the up and up. And it gave a lot of examples as far as, again, I'm a big fan of like frameworks. There's a lot of frameworks on how to really design like these algorithms that was in that article. Like the 7 maximum, the whole thing about trust models. When you're designing something, think simple first, and then secure, and then survive. I mean, like, so there's many examples in an article that we can kind of pick through to make sure that we, at the beginning, when we're designing these ecosystems, to think of doing the right thing first and thinking about things instead of just willy-nilly just going in and doing the thing. So because as you look in the article, that there's so many links, and and each link will take you to something that you really have to go through it, and that's kind of what I like about these articles in this way.
It's true, but also it's a never-ending rabbit hole. It's like the
Right.
infinity rabbit hole.
True.
Sometimes I look at them, and sometimes I hardcore ignore all the links because I like, nah, like it's sometimes it gets a little bit like too much information at once. But yeah, I do like the style of writing, because essentially the way they write at Block Science is very academic. This is like academic writing where you include all the references, just instead of, you know, doing like little footnotes and putting them in there, they are linking to articles directly, which makes it really easy to dive deeper, right? That's really good about it. But yeah, sometimes it's just like, yeah, I know there's so much more I'm supposed to know. I know.
So you said before that there is, in our society today, you feel like there is something you love and something you hate. Can you like elaborate more on that subject?
Yeah, so for example, when I had this discussion with this colleague of mine about gun control, right? I was like, you know, I never owned a gun. I'm not a gun person, right? I come from Germany. Like, we don't usually own guns there, okay? So I don't have any like connection to this. I do live in a developing country, or I think it's called an emerging country. Actually, sorry guys from Peru. I'm sorry. And you know, there are dangers here, right? They are not very prominent and not very imminent, but they are there. They are present, right? So, you know, in a sense, you know, if you grow up with guns and you're used to it, I'm not saying you should not have a possibility to own one, you know? This is my personal stand, where I'm like, I don't want one. I wouldn't want to have a gun in my house, okay? And I also don't feel it would make my life much safer, to be honest, okay? But like people who, you know, grow up in a society where guns are a thing, right? And this is actually a fact in a lot of countries. I do understand that they might feel safer, psychologically speaking, and that they want to have like this thing in their household to defend themselves, right? Or their family. I do understand that part, right? Because you've grown up with this. So it's kind of something really hard, I guess, also to shake, maybe. So I'm not saying ban guns everywhere, right? Also, I think it's actually not a feasible solution, but iterate on like how people can actually get a gun, right? Because that's something that obviously the US hasn't touched for in like a long time, right? And I feel with, you know, all of the stuff that's going on, maybe that would be a good next step, right? Because obviously the current legislation is not working so well. So you should work on making it better, because you don't want so many people to die, right? And this is always when people who are for guns bring up, yeah, like most guns, you know, most gun-related deaths are actually suicides in the US. I'm like, yeah, but also there is still like 10,000s of people dying from non-suicide. So, you know, maybe we should care. So what I'm trying to say with all of this is, I'm neither for the one extreme nor for the other. I'm not saying ban all guns. I'm not saying give everyone a gun who wants one. Right? I'm saying like make a solution that's better than the one we are having now, because obviously the situation right now is not great, because still a lot of people are dying. And even if, you know, it would be only a few thousand dying by it, then it's not a great solution because it's harming people. That's my personal view on things. And this is what I think is called maybe having a balanced opinion about things, because I'm trying to be empathetic to both sides. But if you have discussion with people who are pro-gun or no gun, it doesn't matter. This is my point, right? It doesn't matter if you're talking to the one extreme or the other extreme. They only want to see their extreme. They don't want to go to the middle. They really, really don't want to go there. And this is something I've observed more recently developing in a lot of fields, you know, when it comes to like all of these hot topics, really, when it comes to abortion rights, when it comes to gender equality. You know, you have now all of these, I think I've shared this with you guys before. You have all of these women empowerment groups now also in Web3. and I know the intention. It's like an algorithm that then actually turns into a harmful thing. It's well intended, right? I know why they're doing it, and I understand, but in the end, it's just copying what was there before, right? So gentlemen's only club, it's the same model, right? And so now men are going here again, right? And they're building their incel groups, which is another extreme. So in a lot of ways, often when one extreme develops, on the other side, the other extreme develops. If people would come more to the middle to actually talk to each other, then we wouldn't have so much like extreme bias in like a lot of conversations. And this is something I recently feel a little bit sad about. Sorry, I will stop now. Does it make any sense to you?
Yeah, actually,
Yes.
I believe that there is a huge problem, like Grayscale said, in our the method of in our school. Like we don't teach our kids like critical thinking, and we need to teach them the systematic thinking rather than conventional thinking. And for example, like you said, the gun power, it's a huge problem in the United States, and we need to address it. We need people to get them to think more like deep into the subject, and the government should care about the people's opinion. And yeah, if we want to address these problems, we need to think systematically to solve these complex chronic social problems.
Yeah, but also acknowledge that, you know, these things, they are not like happening in a vacuum, right? They're connected very deeply into like a network of related issues. So for example, there's a huge black market, right? So a lot of guns are actually, you can easily purchase a gun illegally in the States. So a lot of, you know, gun related deaths, according to my research at least, they come from illegal gun ownership. And this is like an argument that, you know, pro-gun people make a lot of times. They're like, well, you know, like look at all the dead people that come from the illegal guns, that come from gang violence, right? So I think in a lot of times, I think these problems, they are so intertwined, right, that they become very soon very overwhelming in like producing an actual good solution, right, towards that problem. Because then you need to dive deep into very different branches or arms of society. And as we know right now, systems and organizations and governments are not, like, they can literally not do this, right? This is also why I think it's so important of like what we're doing here, because it teaches us, the crypto economic flower teaches us to not look at like this one thing only, right? This one speciality only. It forces us to look at many different things at the same time with the help of technology. So I think, yeah, this is like, this will play probably a major factor in the next 10, 20, 30 years to solve maybe some of these issues or to make them worse. It really depends on who holds the power to all of these systems eventually, I guess. Yeah. Lutra, did you want to say something? Sorry, I have a lava flash today.
I mean, I might add something. In economic history, there's also a discussion, you know, about this kind of radical ideas on the one hand side and on the other side, be it the Keynesians against the monetarists or something. And older German economist, he wrote a book which is quite hard to translate, but Stella, you might like the title of it, and it's called Maß und Mitte. And it's exactly about this kind of, you see so many radical positions, and people don't interact really. They don't accept the arguments of the other side, and somehow this middle class of opinion gets lost. And I'm just wondering if our decentralized technology might be a useful tool for a kind of conflict resolution with regard to this, you are even on this side or the other. So that's my 2 cents on it.
That's very nice. If you look at my screen, do you see the book I put up there? Is this the book you meant? Probably not, right?
No, that's not the one. It's from Wilhelm Röpke.
Give me the center, Mitte, and then Wilhelm
Röpke.
something, right?
Röpke.
Röpke.
Yeah, this one.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see if we can find I'm putting this as a link for now, but maybe there's an English translation somewhere I can find. Thank you for sharing. This is something that I'm definitely interested in reading, actually. Thank you. Yeah.
You're very welcome.
Grayscale, you want to add?
No, but I would be, open to reading that book myself. But the thing about the guns here in the United States, it is a problem, and I really am disgusted that the argument sometimes always links back to the Second Amendment, which was an entirely different time.
True.
And we should really rethink that, argument on why we need to arm ourselves. But what really hurts is the fact that, the whole politics of it, we have this big, like gun cartel, I should call it, which, supplies funding to a lot of politicians here. And that's why we don't really have stronger gun laws on the federal level because of that. And it goes on both sides. I mean, it's not that like the Republicans are the only ones getting funding. They fund everyone. And then we have these Band-Aid, policies for our kids, which is, it's just ridiculous. But I don't want to get too political, but yes, I will be interested in reading this book on the polarization of thinking of in history.
Oh.
So what is the question that we should ask here? Should we make a policy for guns?
I don't feel I have a right to do that, honestly, because I feel I have literally no relation to guns personally. They were invented to kill people. This is by definition a thing, and I don't think that's great. I don't want to be killed. I don't want anyone other to be killed, But I also think that maybe there are some things that countries need to figure out by themselves, right? So personally, what I want to focus on is the thing that was brought up actually many times, which is education. I think our educational systems, and it doesn't matter where you look at, because I've worked in very different ones. I worked and lived through different ones. And none of them are great, because none of them really do help you to live your life, right? And I think this is what education should be about. Not everyone maybe needs to learn higher mathematics. Not everyone needs to maybe learn higher literature, right? But everyone should know how to live their life and how to manage, tasks in society. Be it voting, be it how to be considerate with others, be it you name it. Learn how to prepare for your taxes, right? I don't know about you guys, but I never learned in school how to do my taxes, and I would really have loved to have that skill after I left school, right? I think there's just a lot of things that are being ignored, probably on purpose. And I think iterating on education on a worldwide scale, I mean, all of these technologies, I think they also move us closer together, right? It will take hundreds of years probably until this becomes an actual thing. But it starts moving us together, and lets, people like ourselves from very different parts of the world converse about these things and exchange opinion. So I think it's more about that than building a policy from what we're discussing here right now. But oh, Strada's putting on his camera, and now it's getting fucking serious. Okay. You're getting serious? Go.
Well, I'm just wanted, like, I like the question that was asked. What do we do forward with respect to gun control? Or like, I have no opinion on the matter, to be honest. But what I was going to say is that, Stella, I think you said something pretty interesting that I kind of I think we need to look at it differently, because somebody mentioned, so what do we do? Do we write a gun code? And you said, well, I don't feel comfortable, right? And I was listening to that, and I'm like, well, but maybe that's what we need. Maybe you need people who are outside of the melting pot or whatever the economic system, the democracy, to say, hey, look, here's how we see policy with respect to gun control. That would make it more fair. Because it's kind of like, you remember Stockholm Syndrome? Does anybody remember Stockholm Syndrome, where, and this is like, there was a movie that was recent about how when somebody was kidnapped, or like there was a very famous kidnapping that happened, and
oh wait, is it about, sorry,
Oh,
is this about like people feeling suddenly empathy for their kidnapper? Is this the thing? Yeah. Okay.
correct. And so what I'm trying to say here is that when you are in an environment in which you just start accepting certain things as the norm, Second Amendment rights, First Amendment rights, et cetera, right? I'm not here to question anybody's democracy. To be honest, I have no opinion on anybody else's, but I do have an opinion on humanity. I have an opinion on what I think the world should be and how we need to be better versions of ourselves in this world. And when I think about what you said, it kind of gave me a little something inside. I'm like, wait a second, why? Why could Stella not? Maybe somebody who is not in that system, who thinks a certain way, maybe it requires somebody who thinks completely differently to say, hey, here's another way to look at this policy from this perspective that puts societal humanity at a higher pecking order than financial gain. So that's when I stopped when you were speaking, and I reflected. I said, well, I would be personally interested if Stella or somebody else who's not in that jurisdiction to write a policy on some contentious topic. And I think we should then look at it from that perspective, say, hey, is this something we could all get behind? I don't know. I think it's something worth, I think it's something that we should be talking more about, right?
Actually, this is an interesting view on it. Yeah, I never viewed it like this, but maybe you're right. Maybe you need someone outside who helps.
Lord knows the people on the inside are not helping themselves. So, do we have anything to lose? I don't know. I kind of look at it that way. I'm like, I don't think we got anything to lose. Like, I watched this something came up on my YouTube feed about gun violence in the United States, and it's Ben Shapiro with a few other people on stage. And there was this guy who was dissecting his argument. And, when you look at the stats, it targets a certain demographic of people, right? So when they said, like, do you not believe that there's inequalities in society within the United States, et cetera, and this is just something came up on a YouTube, the algorithm led me to this conversation, this video. And what I found very fascinating was that his approach to the argument, right? They were trying to highlight that there are some forms of societal, systematic policies that result in certain consequences. His immediate response was, well, then why don't you, and he's directly targeted that group. And they were trying to say, look, we think that there's a greater issue here within our society. But then what he did is he put them on the defensive, and he said, well, then you explain to me why this percentage of this demographic is doing this, why this percentage is having the highest level of teen pregnancies, why this is of this, and why there's so much of this crime against this crime. Explain that to me. And what I think the reason why I highlight that, it's very timely for me, because I was just, surfing. My daughters were out of the house. I'm like, I got the TV, I can do what I want. So I'm gonna watch YouTube. And the reason why I bring it up is maybe we need to start looking at society on a global macro scale. And maybe we need to start defining our policies through algorithms on that global macro scale. And
but then you actually land up with, sorry to interrupt you, but then you encounter bias again, right? Because we think, like, as you're Canadian, right? Are you Canadian?
But let me share with you what I was thinking is that do it on a global macro scale, right, Stella? What you do is, when you're doing it at a macro scale, yes, absolute biases, but when you're doing it on a macro scale, you're not excluding other people. You're saying, world, here's where the policies we want to create for the world. The world, give us your answers, instead of, hey, US, hey, Georgia, hey, New Hampshire, you give me your thoughts. What I'm trying to say is, right now, I see it as silos, right? Policies are created in, let's talk about policies, right? They're created in silos. And what I'm saying is that if we create a global macro policy that then seeks out everybody's views on how that should be, right? Kind of like the UN is. But the UN and the International Monetary Fund, like these organizations that there's contentious points. I'm not going to say that there isn't, but they've morphed into something else now, right? But what I'm saying is that I think we have a fundamental opportunity to create a global view on policy that includes everybody. I'm drawing like this weird tree map with my hands, right? So you have this global macro policy, and you're sourcing information from the world to inform and curate your policies. Now, what happens? Majority rules. What do we use? What type of voting mechanism should we use? Let's use whatever you want to use, right? Yeah. Now you source it from demographics of diverse thought, diverse backgrounds, diverse biases, all into one macro view. Now, what does that do? It allows us to rise above the silos of our countries and our nations and our states and our jurisdictions to now have one global view that's curated from the masses. And people who do not want to participate, that's their prerogative. So, I don't know. That's just, I don't know. Like, it's just a thought. I don't know.
You're stirring up. I can already tell Lutra and Supernova feel super excited to answer this, so let them go first.
I would love, and please debate.
I just want to understand the last part that you said about the other ones that don't agree with the system. They just go away. Is that right?
Here, what I'm saying is that let's give every country, every nation state an opportunity, right? Let's give everybody an opportunity to opine and give them a voice at a seat at the table, is what I'm saying. But if they choose, they have in their prerogative to choose that they do not want to participate. That's their prerogative. But but through an unbiased mechanism, right? You can, look at ZK rollups. Zero knowledge proofs. I don't need to know who Lutra is, right? And where his jurisdiction is necessarily. I can just source his opinion without I can verify his identity, say who he is, but not necessarily have to know every single detail about him. So now that's how you you get raw data. Because we look at data. I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent here. I could be way wrong. So please tell me that I'm wrong. I just think that the more we can use anonymous mechanisms or use the technology at our fingertips to create that surety of equitable data, and then throw it out to the world for others to just provide their opinions, we then take out biases of one particular jurisdiction, because now you're casting a wide net. But the only challenge is it requires participation. It requires adequate participation for it to be successful. So therefore, that's why I think if you do it at a global macro level, that's when you can start seeing what
there's your blind spot. There exactly is your blind spot. Like I would love for this to work, but I think the blind spot is a global scale and participation, because you would need to make the assumption that everyone has the same access to the same tools, right? And sometimes that's not given, like out of obviously, you know, monetary reasons or political reasons even, you know?
Yes, 100%. I actually did not even think about that. You're absolutely right. Because you're right. Look at Iran, look in China, look in different parts, North Korea. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But here's the thing. Does that mean that we don't try? That's my question.
No, this is where I agree with you.
I think we try, and then we try to, I don't know. Like, you know, here's the thing. Did I share that video with that guy dancing at that
no, you
festival?
didn't share any funny videos. No, now is a good time to do so.
It wasn't me, but can I ask you a favor? Can you just Google, and I just want folks to watch this video, and this is what I think we have an opportunity to do. Just Google man dancing and causing change. YouTube video. That video. That is what I think we should do. Because this is what I think will happen. I don't know if it's a long video. You might want to. There he is. He's just dancing, right?
That's actually, it's not long. We can just like leave it on there. Like having a good time. That's nice. Good for him.
This is who we are. This is who we are. Or this is who I am, right? I'm that guy dancing. Or I'm not going to even say I'm that guy dancing. I'm just dancing. I'm dancing to my own beat. I'm dancing to my own rhythm, right? Wow. I have views of what I think. But I think that we all collectively have that uniqueness within us. You know, I think Grayscale, I think Supernova and others have so much, and Lutra and Cell, we all have these different opinions and views, and that's okay. But if we can try to curate something that we agree on or disagree, like, and we filter out what we disagree on, at least we're getting one step forward in getting some sort of collective understanding. This guy,
I love how much of a good time he has. Very obviously, this is hilarious. Actually, I'm missing a lot. Like, Wojtek, did you want to add anything to this whole weird discussion that led us to a dancing guy now?
I cannot comment on the dancing guy, but it's super interesting to listen to this. I mean, this idea is not new to me. I was thinking about it quite some time, but I'm running into the same challenges that were already mentioned here, like what to do with people who want to escape such a thing. Like what happens if there is someone who will not agree? Do we give people or states or whoever veto power? How do we weigh the votes? And these are the issues of governance. That's what this last module of token engineering is about. So it's super great to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, look at this. This is incredible. It starts with one person. literally, and then a small group of people, and then turns into something, right? Let's just hope this happens in the next 10 years for us, because I'm sick of waiting for people.
Yeah, the network effect's going to take a little while.
Yeah, sadly. But yeah, actually, I wanted to tell you guys something. I'm not sure how interested you are in this, but I've kind of like come to realize a little problem that I feel I can solve for us as, like, you know, token engineers on their journey. And I'm actually in talks with the Token Engineering Academy to do a webinar on personal branding for token engineers. So making all of you like more visible and give you like some tools and some guidelines to do that for yourself, right?
Cool.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'm glad you like it. Anyhow, once it's been confirmed, I would be super happy if you guys could join that webinar. Just already, you know, putting it out there. It's going to happen. We just don't know exactly when right now. But my work has been done, so I'm just waiting for them to confirm a date, honestly.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I would like to support you with that.
I like to support you guys. I mean, Lutra is like exceptionally good at this. Like, Lutra is absolutely out there, right?
Is like transparent.
Yeah, but yeah, and also like being known for what you stand for, what's your niche, what's your interest, right? Like making it very easy for people to understand what kind of token engineer are you and what is token engineering, right? I feel we've been dabbling around like the same pond for a long time, right? The space right now is not growing exponentially like the technologies are. And I think the only way on countering that, or actually, you know, turning this around and bringing more visibility to what we're doing and why we are doing it for like even normal people and normal companies in Web 2 and governments, right? It's really important that all of us are playing the part of a multiplicator, essentially. But we can only do this if we are out there. If no one knows about us and if no one sees you, right, then this is a problem. And so this is the problem I want to solve. Try solving. I'm like, try solving. Okay.
I mean, like, what are like these tools that we're gonna use? Did you created some tools?
Yeah, so I actually you can get a sneak peek. Okay, fine. It's a sneak peek. So I put this together for now. This is essentially the proposal and the worksheets. And this is the title and the little summary, and this is what we'll be going through, and it contains a lot of like guided exercises. So at the end of this webinar, you should be able to have put together a link aggregator, chosen a platform on which you regularly want to publish, right? Yeah. Because only if you're out there, only if you're connecting to like people who don't know about this right now. So for a good example, or something that motivated me, was when I was in New York for NFT NYC, I stayed with my friends. My friends, they have nothing to do with this. I've been friends with them for almost 10 years. They have absolutely nothing to do with this. They're working in the movie industry in New York, actually. That's their thing. And, you know, the woman, she was like, sorry, obviously she has a name, but I don't want to mention it here. But she started to become very interested. She was like, okay, so how do I figure out which cryptocurrencies are, you know, could be interesting to me, or what would I look for, right? And you, like, even though, you know, I'm her friend and I've been like pretty much out there. I don't know if you've ever been on my Instagram profile or if you know my project, doesn't matter. But I think I've been putting myself quite out there, and it's not enough. Like, I'm not enough. Like, even for my friend, it's not enough, right? So, yeah, I think it would be nice if all of us became like, you know, a voice that people could listen to. Because, yeah, hearing it from different sources will start bringing attention to it. Hearing it from one source all over and over again, it will not make the effect that we all wish for. So yeah, anyhow, you know, it's like defining your personal brand, choosing platforms, and then there's like guided exercises here that we can go step by step, or actually this is a better one. So there's brand archetypes, right? There's personal brand profiles. So I would do this all like guided on screen and doing it together with everyone, same as setting up your profile, building your audience. Yeah, it's kind of like, I think it has a like easy structure also for beginners. I hope. Yeah, but that would be the idea.
Yeah.
Wait, what do you think? Now that I showed it to you, sneak peek style, what do you guys think? Is this?
Oh, Stella,
yeah.
I really like the idea, especially because I'm not that much active on social media channels and so on. It's somehow a new world for me. Just discovered Discord, as everybody knows, in our study group. So for me, it would be very helpful to have guided experience, yeah, in setting up a profile. So I'm loving their idea, but you would have really to give us some more information, because I think one has to prepare to do a good webinar with regard to the topics.
Yeah, no, of course.
So, this is a request for a little bit further information about what would be our role and what do you want us to do.
Oh, I would just guide you through doing these exercises for yourself. So at the end of the session, you have chosen your platform. You've set up a link aggregator that suits your style. You have written out like your little elevator pitch about your persona, right? What kind of token engineer do you want to be to the outside world? Do you want to specialize in something? If yes, where do your specialization lie, or what are you aiming for? Because all of us are, you know, token engineering apprentices, as I call us. So obviously we don't need all the answers right now, right? But preparing for when we are done, right? We're in module 5, so we're almost done. And I think having then something like the next step essentially after that, right?
Yeah.
That would be nice to have. And I've obviously figured all of this out for myself. I have the personal brand. I have following on socials. So I just think, you know, in a sense, engineers or token engineers in general, they remind me a lot of designers. We're so eager to create, but we're actually not good at sharing what we're doing, right? Or how our thought processes are, right? This is something that happens in a vacuum. And in today's society, if we want to make our voice bigger and louder, it cannot happen in a quiet room in our homes, hidden somewhere, right? We have to be out there, be heard, right? And explain to normal people why this is important. So a friend of mine, for example, she works with the Californian government to implement NFTs for marriage certificates, for birth certificates, for you name it, all the stuff that usually needs to get notarized, right? And I think that's super valuable, right? And she's very out there, but she is the same as us right now. It's like, you know, these lonely drops on the map, right? So if we have like link aggregators, if we have like one dedicated social profile, we dedicate specific content pillars. So I'm also going into depth about how social media really works, right? So there are a few things that enable you to be like to grow your following on social media, and a few things that really don't let you grow, right? So one of the main aims is consistency, right? So if you dedicate your time to a specific profile, you need to be consistent. You need to be consistent in posting frequency. You need to be consistent in your tone of voice, visually and written, and you need to be consistent. And I forgot the third one. I don't know. I wrote it somewhere. I would go through it. Doesn't matter right now. But point is, I think with these tools, we can make our voices louder and more heard. there are so many actually indirectly famous alumni of the Token Engineering Academy working for some of the major protocols. And because we never taught them this part, they're actually, you know, they got this education, they got a job through it, but they are not advocating for the academy or the discipline of token engineering, right? And I kind of want to start educating everyone in here to do that. Because if we're working as multiplicators of actually something that's very good and useful, potentially super helpful to people, then, you know, well, I can only repeat myself. We need to be heard, right? And as a matter of fact, I understand
it would be really very, very valuable for me.
Okay, that's
because somehow this, you're really this is a blind spot somehow. And I think I can learn a lot. So yeah, it sounds really, really good.
Oh yeah, that's really nice to hear. Okay.
Do you think starting a podcast could help, like spreading our words outside?
Yes, of course. That's also part of the platforms you can explore, right? It doesn't have to be social media in the sense of Instagram, right? That's something that works for me because I'm also a designer, so it works with where I come from originally, right? And you know, I can design information in a way, so that works for me. But so, for example, if you were to do a podcast and that's your, you know, consistent output, hell yeah.
There is a lot of marketing approaches that you could implement in this, you know, branding. I think there is a field called demand generation. Demand generation. You generate demand for your product, for example, and
like this.
Demand
generation.
Yes. I think it's used in the early stages of a product, and I think it's used mostly in B2B, business to business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I was I only know, I'm more like a B2C person. So I know about like consumer behavior and consumer demand, right? And how consumer make purchase decisions, for example. I'm probably like, I'm almost sure like it probably works very similar, but well, we're talking about personal branding. So but I will look at this. Thank you, Supernova.
Yeah, well,
that's helpful.
I think I have more insights in this, but I've written this in a document. I can share with you next time.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, please. Awesome. Thank you. Grayscale.
Yes, I definitely want to participate in giving the whole token engineering a big shout out. I think it's very important, and it'll kind of get in my acting gear too. So it's good.
Awesome. That is.
And just to add myself to this group of people, Stella, this is super interesting. I'm one of those people who know that personal branding and like presence in social media and basically outside is important. But I'm bad at it. I'm like super bad. I'm that kind of person, like if I go to a conference or a meetup or something, I enjoy chatting with people. I'm that kind of person who likes to talk to everyone and discuss plenty of stuff. But like I don't know how to do that with social media. So if you can help us to get there, that would be very helpful.
No, Thank you for saying this. To be honest, I used to be really bad at it too. This is why I can relate, because it's hard. It's hard to find. So, for example, my interests are very diverse, and I would assume yours are too. So it's really hard to just be like, okay, but most social media platforms, they only accept you for one niche. They don't want you to share about different topics, right? So you need to find like the dedication, right, towards like each channel. And then this is now that I've, like now that I've become a little bit more of a pro at this. Oh, I don't know how this made it over there. Oh, here. Okay. This is how I work, right? This is my content calendar. You can also pay like a super expensive software to do this for you. But you still have to put in all the information. So I figured I'd just, make my own content calendar on Millernote because I love Millernote, as everyone knows. And so I've become like better and better at this, right? And designed information it helps people to find these kind of informations more accessible and entertaining. And so, yeah, here you can see some of the posts that I've been working on. Obviously, everything on Instagram right now is like from a digital creator point of view. So this is mostly what I share there. And the next thing that I need to push more is Lens and Twitter, which will be more about token engineering. But yeah, this is where I'm at. So, I do understand this is a struggle, and it's not easy to build this out to where you actually start having an audience. Like the beginning is honestly, it's very much a struggle. But once you get there, and once you have like some data that you can work with, so for example, there's sometimes our posts where I'm like, this is such a dope post, and it gets like no fucking traction, just nothing, compared to other posts, and I'm like, why? This is such a great post. And then when I start, getting like out of my own like arrogance, I'm like, oh man, yeah, actually that's not what my followers want, because my followers are this and this and this kind of people, right? So I made this for like essentially for myself, but I didn't consider if anyone else would, get some value out of it. And I think, yeah, that also helps to acknowledge it. I'm rambling now. Okay, I will stop rambling. Anywho, I'm glad you liked this idea. And yeah, I would hopefully talk to Patty and Angela next week to know more about when we're going to do this. And I'm going to have some more reading to do thanks to Supernova. Also, Roro couldn't be here, by the way. Nobody asked for Roro.
Oh, I would like to know what about Ruhan.
Ruhan has a super cool presentation right now to apply for a grant for token engineering paired with AI. AI-powered token engineering. Yeah, so...
Great, congrats. Good news, yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Guys, are you good?
We're good. So Stella, you will keep us updated with regard to the social media thing?
Yeah.
And should we, what about next week? And some homework with regard to token engineering?
Yeah, I think let's try and do the catching up that we are promising ourselves, right? So everyone who has not really read through the algorithm policy and the, what's the other one? Autonomy, right? That's the other one.
Yeah.
Through those pillars, catch up on those. Wojtek has read those, so Wojtek catches up on the other stuff that he has still to do. And so next week we're trying to be all on like roughly the same page. How about that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Everyone said, okay. Okay. Yeah, that sounds fair. Okay, guys. I
have one question.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Are you guys involved in the Rohan project?
In Rohan's project?
Yes. Do you think you could get involved in it?
This is a project that he does together, or he's proposing together with Angela. And I think they are building an educational framework around it. So best if you reach out to Rohan directly, but I'm also not sure how much they can share right now, because it's literally their funding application today, right? This is what the presentation is for. So I don't know how much they can share. But yeah, I think all of us are excited about this, aren't we?
We say, keep fingers crossed.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys.
Okay, see you next week,
All
guys.
right.
See you next
Bye-bye.
week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.